Today, I'm going to tell you a story about how a cybercriminal gang made $1.7 million in 9 months. There is a Trojan out there which is called the Zeus Trojan, and the screenshot that I showed you earlier comes from an attack from the Zeus gang. And this Trojan, which appeared around the year 2006, is very, very popular. There are literally thousands of versions available on the internet, and they can be purchased for less than $1,000. And the botnet infrastructures looks like the following. It all starts with a cybercriminal trying to get rich. So he starts by buying a toolkit which allows him to spread malware. And then he can infect users. And once the malware is installed on the user's computer, it starts collecting information. And the information begins to be uploaded to other machines, to servers, which we are calling Dropzones. And today I would like to focus on these two parts of the infection process, which are the stolen data and the Dropzones for the Trojan horses. So, first of all, the command and control centers. These are typically websites, so they are accessible through the regular internet. And they are online and they can be accessed with a username and password. And they have been designed in such a way that they are very, very easy to use. Even a child can use them. And they have very interesting information inside the command and control centers. And they are very, very powerful, and they allow them to launch very interesting kind of attacks. Let's talk a bit about another very interesting feature of the command and control centers, which I called geotargeting. The fact here is that the cybercriminals have the tools, and they are actually doing it, to target geographical areas with specific attacks. They also have very good real-time information about how many victims they have. And the important thing is that the number of victims is highly related to how much money they're making. Another interesting thing is that when you are a cybercriminal, one of the things you fear the most is the moment, the day, when somebody will knock at your door at 4 a.m. and say the dreaded word, "Police, open up." And when that happens, it's really important from their point of view to get rid of all the evidence. And they have pretty easy ways which allows them to get rid of all the evidence. So you can see here, they have buttons which with just one click, they can kill all the bots in the system. Most cybercriminal gangs use a Dropzone server, and that's a machine, a computer, which can store pretty good large amounts of data daily. So what exactly is inside a banking Trojan Dropzone server? Most of the files on these servers, and there's pretty good amounts of data in there, in average 14 gigabytes and over 30,000 files. When we look at the number of victims daily from such a Trojan Dropzone, we see that in average they have between 1,000 and 10,000 victims. And the number of victims, in this case, from the end of the last year, December 2009, until the beginning of January, has been growing 10 times. This is a kind of atypical geographical distribution chart for victims. They are located in two major geographical areas. They are located in the Middle East and they are located in South America. So what happened in this case, these specific attackers, they targeted, as I showed you earlier, they targeted users in the Middle East and they targeted users in South America. And they didn't really want to target users in the United States or users in Europe, probably for two main reasons. First of all, the competition there is so much higher, so they will have to fight other criminal gangs. The second reason is that the law enforcement are now a lot more active in the States or in the Western Europe. So there's a higher chance of you getting caught if you do this kind of things in there. As I was saying earlier, we have mainly four kind of files in these drop zones. And these files range from JPEG files to text files. And the ones that I like to say a few words about are the PFX files. The main usage for PFX files is online banking systems. So they are certificates used for authentication. And the banks have come up with this originally very clever idea that in order to log in into your online banking system, you need a username, a password, and a certificate. And if the bad guys steal your username and password, they cannot do anything with it because they don't have the certificate. And now with the combination which includes a username, the password, and this certificate, they can very easily log in into your online banking account and pretty much transfer all your life savings to their own accounts. There's a fourth class of files on the drop zones, and those are the DAT files. And the DAT files are mainly server-side script programs, which they use to organize the data on the drop zone. And they use these files in order to run the entire drop zone server, because all these programs are necessary to manage the access and to control the retrieval of the stolen data by the cybercriminals. This is what is inside the other thing, the text files that I mentioned. And the text files are logs from the drop zone. And the logs contain very easy to read information from the user's PC. What we have here is a financial transaction. Somebody was trying to pay their bills. So they're trying to pay from one of their accounts, which had $60 in it. And what is really interesting here, I don't know if they had $60 because all the rest was stolen by the criminals before, or that was actually the entire amount of their lifetime savings. Although I'm inclined to think that the first solution and the first option is the right one. And he was trying to make this payment. And what happens with the Z-bot Trojan is that the Z-bot Trojan can dynamically intercept the transaction and can change two important numbers in the transaction. First of all, the recipient's account. Second of all, the amount of the money that were transferred. This is a profitability chart of a cybercriminal group from June 2009 to the end of March 2010. And you can see that they had a 400% growth despite the economic crisis. The sad thing here, though, I think if you sum all this money, we reach the conclusion that in 9 months, they made $1.7 million. What can we do against this? And my personal opinion is that prevention is a process. And prevention of these attacks could start in places like here in Cyprus at this conference, when we tell you about the ways we are trying to save the world from cybercrime. But that is, in my opinion, just one of the things. There's also important for people to have modern software and modern hardware, but it's also important for people to have a security solution installed and to have the most recent patches, as my colleagues showed before. And also very, very important, as you have seen, even if you have the most recent operating systems, the most recent patches, you still have to have the right security mindset. And in my opinion, that's one of the very important factors which leads to people losing their money, because they're not aware of what can happen and they do not think with a security-aware kind of thinking. And I think it's very important to talk about education.